Where did the mean tweets idea come from?
It was my wife's idea. My
Really?
wife is a head writer on the show, and I was sitting at the kitchen table with my wife Molly and her friend Kelly Oxford, and Kelly is on Twitter, and she gets a lot of mean comments written about her, and she was reading one to us, and I said, "Oh, that's nothing," and I started reading mine, and we were going back and forth, and Molly said, "This would be a great thing
It's amazing
to do," and I think Will Arnett was the first person
who agreed to do it.
to read a mean tweet on our show. Obama sat down and we shot it right before the show, and he read these tweets, and at the end of it he said, "Oh, there are much meaner tweets. We got to get meaner tweets in here."
And did you look for more?
Well, we had a lot of mean tweets, and his people kind of went through them beforehand. So I mean, we were up for anything. But
to be honest with you, it is great to be somebody who's in the public eye. Every time I watch mean tweets, I feel like, oh look, we all go through it. We do.
It is true.
Did you meet your wife were you writing together? Were you working together?
Yeah. I met my wife at the show. She started as assistant to the executive producer, and then she was a writer's assistant, and then she was a writer on the show, and then she became head writer on the show.
Wow.
And then I won't date anyone below title of head writer, so she had to work her way up.
And then she was able to attempt.
That's right.
Nice.
Very strict rules. Well, you don't have a lot of free time to do other stuff, do you?
No, I don't.
Have there been situations where there was something that you really wanted to do, movie-wise, or any other part that you just weren't able to do because of your schedule?
Yeah, it's come up a couple times. But that's the commitment you make, particularly when you're doing a network show, is you kind of have to be willing to let some other stuff go. And it's helped me to really focus so that the projects that I do during hiatus, like the movie I'm going to do this season, is something I'm really, really passionate about, because I only have one window to do something else. So it has to be something that really means a lot to me.
Yeah, like for me, it's more, well, nobody ever is interested in me doing anything else, but I would like to be fishing. And I want to buy a fishing house, a house that I can go fishing at.
But you would never be able to use it.
And it will torment me. So I can't do that to myself, because I know it will be a symbol
of all the time you don't have.
Yeah, it'll just be like 50 weeks out of the year, it'll be torturing me. In 2 weeks, I'll enjoy it.
Who are some of your inspirations? Who is a role model for you?
Well, I think, David Letterman growing up was my my Jesus. To the point where it's embarrassing. I had late night written on my license plate. Was personalized, L8 night. And I had a Letterman jacket. My 16th birthday cake said, late night with David Letterman.
Does he know any of that?
Yeah, he knows. He knows. I don't like. I know it would really alarm him more than flatter him. So I keep that close.
Yeah.
Howard Stern, growing up, was somebody also that I and to this day admire greatly. But, all the usual suspects, Steve Martin and Bill Murray. I also had a regimen of television shows that I would watch after school every day.
Really?
Jefferson's, Good Times, Different Strokes, Sanford and Son, and like it was my, and whenever they changed the programming, it was potentially problematic. But I love television, I still do.
Yeah.
But especially when I would sit in my bedroom looking at my 12-inch black and white TV set, my family yelling in the background, I just close the door and move on up with George and Wheezy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Who are your role models, or were/are?
Yeah, I guess for me, it was always those actresses who didn't seem to traditionally fit the model of what was beautiful at the time, who didn't care and just created a path for themselves, like Barbra Streisand or Diane Carroll or Rita Moreno, like women who were outside the box of normal per se in this business, but who worked in all mediums, on stage and film and television, and who went into producing and directing and writing and just continued to create opportunities for themselves and never let people say no to them.
Well, they're all musicians.
Yeah.
All of those people.
Yeah.
Are you musically inclined?
I am. I did. I mean, I was one of those musical theater kids, one of those totally nerdy musical theater kids that actually played a frog in a musical in college. That's how much I love musical theater.
Which of your roles do you feel changed your career?
I I feel like there's a little bit of a myth in this business. I mean, that's not true. It has happened to some people. There are some people who have that one thing that just catapults them, like the Jennifer Hudsons and there are people who have that. But for me, it's been more like waves of opportunity. Like Save the Last Dance had a real impact on my career, and then Ray was sort of a different kind of access, and then Scandal has been the biggest life changer, I think,
Right.
just because of the beast that is television. I mean, the opportunity to be in relationship with so many people because you come into their homes. They don't have to leave their home and get in their car and buy popcorn. And, they turn on their television every single week or every night, and they're in relationship with you. So
There's
it's a
still
different
something
beast.
special about being on one of the big networks. It's still,
Yeah.
and even though there are so many great shows that you can get at the push of a button, and pay for, or whatever, even though there are commercials in between, which is
Yeah.
odd sometimes. There's still something about being a show that people can find. They don't have to go look for.
Yeah.
And then when that show becomes super popular, like Scandal has, it's it becomes part of like the fabric of society. Really.
Yeah, I'm always blown away when I read the numbers of what happens in our business. To imagine that many people are tuning into any one thing at any time is so. I don't think about it too much because I think it would paralyze me as an artist if I really thought about it all the
in terms
time.
of like how many stadiums full
right.
of people are watching this little television
moment,
show that you're making.
Yeah.
I thought a fun episode this year was with Lena Dunham.
Yeah.
In her
so much fun.
In her wig. Yeah. I love her in general. I love
Yeah.
her on the show Girls. You must have people who are fans of the show asking or pitching themselves to be a part of the show.
Yeah, and it's surreal. I mean, it's not, obviously I don't get to make any of those decisions. That's all Shonda's world. But it was really fun to have somebody who's been such a fan of the show and so supportive of the show. She's an uber super fan.
Yeah.
And so to have her on was great, and she was so enthusiastic, and also I just really respect her. I respect what she's been able to create and how accomplished she is at
She's
such a
unbelievable.
young age.
She really is unbelievable.
Yeah, she's really such an impressive young woman.
If you want to feel stupid, sit down and
Yeah,
talk to
spend
Lena
a day
Dunham
with
for
Lena
half an hour.
Dunham. Exactly. She's one of those people you always want to lie and say that you've read books that you haven't read just because she's read them all, but you can't. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think she's fantastic, and it was so much fun to work with her.
I've been on a couple of times, and I didn't
You're
change
always
anything.
great
Yeah,
on
I
the
play
show.
myself. So.
You do. So we don't put any wigs on you.
I wish
which
I
is
could
good.
play. I wish I could play a real character.
But
on
you've
the
already
show.
played yourself.
I know. I
so.
think it would ruin the show.
It's so fun. I loved when we had the Susan Ross moment with you. That
Yeah.
character to spin her laugh. It was great.
It's funny because I watch the show regularly, but I didn't know what was going on when I shot my
that
part
scene.
of the show. And it gave me a little bit of insight into what you guys go through, where you don't know
week to week. That's
what's
right.
happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening in the episode because I didn't know that she was going to be vice president. I didn't know any of this stuff.
So fun.
And I'd never seen her before.
She
so I
seems
had
like
no
such a
idea what was
random.
going on. In the back of my head, I always think this might be a prank. You never know. Josh
With
Molina
Josh
might be
Molina
doing
involved,
something
it
to
could
me.
be really bad. What he did to us on your show was unbelievable. Those edited together messages that we wound up saying things that none of us would say in real life was genius.
I get a real kick out of his pranks and shenanigans because I know that it's a fun thing and everybody thinks it's a funny story, but there is a cost associated with it. People will get mad or even worse, hurt. Mad's okay.
Yeah,
hurt is the
bad.
worst.
It's true.
And then you're the guy because when you're a prankster, just by nature, you are going to go too far at some point. Does Josh, is he more careful with you?
He is, or he used to be in the beginning, but now he's less so.
I see.
Yeah. In the beginning, he sort of used to tread lightly.
The worst thing you could do is be a good sport about it.
Exactly.
It's just
exactly. It just keeps happening.
actually, there's no winning. Even if you're a bad sport, it's
true.
fun too. Yeah.